the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are here, today because Mr. Chandler submitted an official letter of resignation. He has submitted his letter to the proper authority in Jackson as well as the proper authority here in Tunica and to myself. It is the duty of the board to make sure we accept that resignation before we can move forward and appoint someone as an interim superintendent to run the district until the election. These items are before you as constant item A to accept his resignation, and I'm asking the board to appoint Mr. Glenn Newsom as the interim superintendent for Tunica County until we meet with MDE on Wednesday to see what the status is of the district's accreditation. I'm also asking the district, in case I have to meet with the attorney the day before, to pay expenses for hotel accommodation, because I have to be present at the meeting on Wednesday. These items are before you as consent items A, B, and C. May I have a motion to approve the consent items?
I so moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposers?
No opposed.
Motion carries. We also have Mr. Seegers here, who has a wealth of knowledge. Attorney May, when it comes to accreditation clearances, he wants to address the public as well as the board on some actions that can possibly be taken during the accreditation meeting on Wednesday. At this time, Dr. Seegers, we'll yield the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vance Seegers, and it is my duty to stand here today to explain the accreditation process to you all as for the hearing coming up on Wednesday. And I believe there is a state board meeting scheduled immediately following and the district meeting after that. Give you a bit of my background before we go into the accreditation process explanation. I'm a native son of Tunica County, 1995 graduate of this campus, Rosa Ford High School, product of this land, best land that I call in the world. 1998, Bachelor of Science graduate, Jackson State University, Education. I'm a 2005 graduate of Jackson State University, Master of Arts, Political Science, Government Service. 2012 graduate, Doctor of Philosophy, Education Administration, K-12 Administration endorsement. Recently, I have done extensive training in Common Core. I've done extensive training in curriculum and instruction. I am a fully licensed educator in the state of North Carolina, which is the state that is leading the effort in school improvement process and rural educational services. For the last 2 years, that is what I've been dedicating my time to. So I have had accurately and aggressive research in these areas. I will present and produce documentation so that you all can see my experiences on paper and also have it for record minutes. I do, however, show you that I am a certified researcher through the Collaborative Initiative Training Institute. This is recent documentation of data that I am working on. I'm what you call a data number specialist. I go through data, I disseminate it, I cross tabulations, I do skewed and new hypotheses, and I find the element and say, where can we come to the central aim of research accountability? That is research that I am doing now on college athlete graduations and retention rate. I'm just showing you all some charts that I'm presently working on. Sorry, it got a little damp out in the rain. Now, to explain some other areas where I have worked on statewide issues. Mississippi High School Sports and Activities Association, about 4 years ago, had to go through a process which you call the 10-point grading system. I was the researcher for the 10-point grading system that had to do the research so that we could advise school districts across the state of Mississippi. My reference that can serve and speak on that behalf is Dr. Pfeiffer Allen, who was the superintendent of Hinds County Schools and the academic advisor to MSHA, and Dr. Enos Proctor, who is the retired executive director of Mississippi High School Sports and Activities Association. I had to lead the discussion in the 2010 Athletic Directors Conference for all the athletic directors from school districts across the state, along with Mike Kent, who was the past superintendent of Madison County Schools, and also previously served as an administrator with the Mississippi Department of Education, a researcher from the University of Mississippi, and another specialist who's a professor with Mississippi State University. We were the people who were the specialists in asking the state to adopt a 10-point grading system because we were losing out an accurate and a high level of dollars for our student athletes in the state of Mississippi to the state of Alabama because we were on an 7 to 8-point system and the state of Alabama was on a 10-point system. Our research and our accountability effort and the aggressive approach that we took for that started gaining more money for our student athletes here in the state of Mississippi. That's one of the areas where I have won on accountability level. Another area, I'm just telling you all about my accountability and my experience so that you all can see that I would not lead you, thank you very much, man, so that I would not lead you all in the wrong direction. The second part is I have a ton of experience in addressing government issues, board issues, policy issues, and data-driven issues. I served 9 years as the Chief Executive Administrator for Dr. Leslie Burrow McLemore, who was the President of the Jackson City Council, who later became interim mayor of the city of Jackson, and later became President of Jackson State University. That's where I've done the bulk of my public policy training in addressing groups and getting accurate government issues so that the citizens could receive best possible service that accountability is all about giving it to your community. I also served on Mississippi Planning and Development issue where we initiated grants, voted on small business loans for businesses to strive so that we can have a thriving economic boost in the central Mississippi area. Also, on my K-12 level, I served 4 years fresh out of college with the Mississippi Department of Education, Mississippi School for the Deaf, where I served in the Education Division. So I am a former employee of the Mississippi Department of Education. If you all want a record or proof of that, you can call the Human Resource Officer. I just believe in telling you all that I'm a man that stands behind true principles. I also, yes, sir.
Let's see, we know that you're qualified.
Okay.
And if not, you would be.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What we need to do is what can you do? What do you think that you can do to help us?
What I think I can do to help you all, sir. First, there is hope that we can save our district accreditation on Wednesday. There is hope. And I always go into things with a hopeful situation. What we're going to have to do on Wednesday, interim superintendent Newsom and whoever from the board decides to address the accreditation commission, between now and Wednesday, there needs to be a clear game plan action in place to explain to the Commission on Accreditation. And like I said, we're before the Accreditation Committee and not the State Board of Education. Now, every area that has been cited needs to have a clear explanation ready to go on presentation day. Even areas that were not cited needs to have a clear and precise explanation and saying that where we will keep this in place. So that means we're going to have to go down and tell them about transportation, we're going to have to go down and tell them about maintenance, food service, how we adhere to the HIPAA policy, how we adhere to the curriculum and instruction issues, how we adhere to the federal program issues, how we handle fiduciary measures, and how we will keep an accurate account of what is going on day-to-day terms and conditions. This is what you call a time where there's need for fast action. And what I mean by fast action is that there needs to be a report floating back and forth between Tunica County Schools and MDE, I would say right now, on a weekly basis. And then after they said that they're seeing gains, probably bi-weekly basis. But what we have to do is be proactive and catch it before it gets to the state to where they say that you're not doing this, you're not doing that. You have to move 10 points ahead of the game. And in the 10 points ahead of the game, that's why I say there is a need to give an accurate and detailed report on a weekly basis. But on Wednesday, getting back to the question, Board Member Anderson, on Wednesday, the board person and the superintendent needs to come and have prepared to introduce to each member of the body a detailed sketch on what Tunica County Schools is going to aggressively approach, and explain this matter from point A to point B. And be ready to come back with answers when they try to ask, well, in this particular, and I'm not seeing the report, and it's not my place to see the report, because I'm not an employee of the district, let it go on the record. I'm not an employee of the district, but it is my place to advise and to let you know what mechanism needs to take place so that in the future, this will not happen again, or try not to let it happen again. So there needs to be a detail on each item that has been listed on the report that came from MDE. Number two, there needs to be a time period cycle to explain in detail. And this particular date, we plan to reach this percentage of this particular measure. On this day, we are requesting, not the State Department requesting, but the district is requesting that we want to meet with you and show you what we are going to do. You also need to tell them that there's going to be a clear vision on who is brought in to advise on certain measures. Sometimes you can have somebody come in and advise and consult on these measures that don't have the district's best interest at heart.
That's right.
And I'm just honest, and I'm going to tell you that you will always get the truth out of me. And say that we will detail search for accurate and honest people that can come in and give us the best service. Because at the end of the day, it is our children who we are having to fight for. And I tell people, I fight all day, all night, 24 hours a day to make sure that the child gets the best proper education source. That is my life, that is my God-given duty, and that will be my duty until the day the Lord calls me on home. So the reason I am telling you that is that right now, between now and Wednesday, there needs to be an aggressive approach. Putting together that game plan. Now, the Commission on Accreditation, there are going to be some members that are going to be quite hard up and want to come back and say, well, we gave you this time, we gave you this, we gave you that. You have to be prepared to answer those questions too.
That's right.
And say, well, you gave us this time, but now we have this answer and we're ready to move on to the next step. So, technically, the issue, from what I have noticed from just an eye view, is basically communication. Communication. And I'm a former director at Jackson State University. I don't know whether Attorney Quinn is familiar with that or not, but she said it was our chief counsel, but I was always on staff. If there is something that comes before my desk, and I not know about it, we're going to have problems. Communication is always the key. And if you have strong communication, then we have to put it in written communication. We have to put it in face-to-face communication, and we have to put it down in clarity. So that's what you tell those board members, is that we're going to have communication. And then my philosophy is, if you need to call me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, or whatever time you need to call, let's get it done. Don't worry about waking me up. Don't worry about saying that I'm sorry to bother you. We have to get it done. We have to get it done. And that's why I say we have to tell the board that we're going to be actively approaching this measure. Then there has to be great writing communication. Show them that we know what we're doing. showing that there are not these grammatical errors and there are not these these formative narrative statements, showing that we're coming with a clear research and